In a previous video, I made an interpretive mistake related to Revelation 20, and I want to correct it directly from the text.
This is not about opinion. This is about reading the sequence exactly as it is written. I suggested that the resurrection mentioned after the 1,000 years created a problem in the timeline. That conclusion came from how one sentence was being read, without fully following the flow of the chapter. The text says, "The rest of the dead did not come to life till the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection." At first glance, this can sound like the later resurrection is also being called the first.
But that reading breaks down once you follow the sequence carefully, because Revelation 20 is not presenting isolated statements. It is describing a structured progression of events.
If we go back just one verse, we see a specific group described as coming to life, being raised, and then reigning with Messiah during the 1,000 years. This group is not symbolic in the text. They are said to live again and to reign, which establishes a clear resurrection event before the 1,000-year period begins. Immediately after that, the text introduces a contrast by mentioning the rest of the dead, those who do not come to life during that same period. Now the key is the word "this," because when the text says this is the first resurrection, it is pointing back to the group already described, not forward. In Greek, the word used is ahuti, which functions as a backward reference, meaning it identifies something already defined, not something that will happen later. So the first resurrection is clearly the resurrection of those who came to life in the previous verse, the ones who reign with Messiah during the 1,000 years. It cannot refer to the rest of the dead, because that group has not yet been described as living, only as delayed until after the 1,000 years. The mistake comes from reading the sentence in isolation. Instead of letting the narrative flow, determine what each part of the sentence is actually referring to. When you read Revelation 20 as a full sequence, it becomes clear that it is laying out stages, not mixing events or redefining the same resurrection twice. The first stage is a resurrection that happens before the 1,000 years, and this group is described as blessed, holy, and reigning with Messiah. This group reigns during the entire 1,000-year period, and the text explicitly says the second death has no power over them, which defines their status. Only after the 1,000 years are completed does the text return to the rest of the dead, indicating that their resurrection occurs at a later stage. This later stage is described at the Great White Throne, where the dead, small and great, stand before God after the 1,000 years are finished. The sea gives up the dead, and death and Hades give up the dead, showing that this is a universal resurrection of all who were not raised before. The text says books are opened, and then another book is opened, the book of life, and the dead are judged according to what is written in the books. So the scene includes both judgment according to deeds and the presence of the book of life, which means the text is presenting a complete and final judgment. Those not found written in the book of life are cast into the lake of fire, which Revelation identifies as the second death. This later resurrection is never formally named the second resurrection, but it is clearly described through the sequence, the raising of the dead, and the judgment scene. When you compare both events, one leads to life, reign, and protection from the second death, while the other leads to judgment and possible condemnation. This pattern is consistent with earlier scripture, where there is a resurrection to life and a resurrection to judgment, even if not always labeled that way. When the full chapter is read carefully, the confusion disappears, and what seemed like a contradiction is resolved by simply following the sequence. This is why interpretation must be driven by context, structure, and language, not by how a single sentence appears in isolation.
Revelation is precise and structured, and when we let the text define its own meaning, the timeline becomes clear and consistent.